Today I'm going to be talking about an album by The Cure. This is going to be the first time I've ever covered this band on this channel, but this album is celebrating an anniversary, and the name of the album is Disintegration. The album was released on May 2nd, 1989. Their 8th studio album. The band recorded the album at Hook End Recording Studios in Checkendon, Oxfordshire, with co-producer David M. Allen from late 1988 to early 1989. This is an important album in the band's career because they are returning to the sound they had when they first began to play. In other words, they brought back that gothic rock type of sound. So what happened was that Robert Smith was going through some type of midlife crisis. He was about to become 30 years old. He felt a lot of pressure due to the band becoming very popular. He was under so much pressure that he was taking a lot of hallucinogenic drugs. These drugs really shaped the sound of this album. The band's previous album was a double album called Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. The band was very successful, but at the same time, there were some internal struggles. A lot of this was due to Lol Tolhurst's worsening alcoholism. Because of this, they hired another keyboardist named Roger O'Donnell, who had previously played with the Psychedelic Furs. Robert Smith then moved to a district in London called Maida Valley. During that time, he was taking a lot of LSD, and that was reflected in the sound of this album. I mentioned before that Robert Smith was going through this early midlife crisis. He felt he was almost going to be 30 and that he needed to write some more music. So for that reason, he started writing for the next album without the band. His idea was that most of the greatest works of music were written before people turned 30. As a result, this music turned out to be very sad and depressing. The band then met at the house of Boris Williams, who was the drummer, and they pooled all the songs that they had written, and they gave each song a score out of 1 to 10. Out of the 30 songs, they chose the 12 best. They didn't want to create another pop album like Kiss Me, Kiss Me, Kiss Me. They wanted something that was similar to their 1982 album called, I'm not going to say it starts with a P and ends with Graffy, because I might get... I had mentioned the alcohol abuse because of Tolhurst, and it was very bad at that time, so he contributed very little to the album. He was unable to play his instrument, and the rest of the band was frustrated, so they decided to let him go. After that, he was out of the band, and he only briefly reunited with them in 2011. They recorded the album, and the overall sound was depressing, something that was very surprising to their label Elektra. They also used a lot more keyboards and synthesizers. There were rumors that Robert Smith was the only person who wrote the music, but he said that the band was involved in at least half of the album. There was also a lot of guitar in the album, but they used a lot of different effects such as delay and the flanger. Let's talk more about the album now. The album has 12 tracks, and it's a fairly long album at about 71 minutes long. Songs are pretty long. Most of them are in the 5 to 8 minute range. The opening song is called Plainsong, and this is named after these Gregorian chants. The song is very unique. It takes about 2.5 minutes before the vocals come in. The song doesn't have a chorus. It just has verses and a bridge. The song is structured as if it were a conversation between two people. The song is very somber and bleak. It has these beautiful orchestral melodies. According to Robert Smith, the song is about different aspects of an obsession. The song has some big orchestral melodies, and it almost sounds like a movie score. The next song is called Pictures of You, and this was the 4th and final single. The song reached the top 30 in the UK and Germany, and Robert Smith has been cited as giving different interpretations of the song. The first one is about a house fire where he salvages pictures of his wife, Mary Poole. Then there is another interpretation about him throwing away all of his pictures and whole movies, and the song's about reminiscing of that fact. He later went on to say that it is loosely based on an essay by Myra Poleo entitled The Dark Power of Ritual Pictures. Found out that this poem and the person never existed, and then he made it up in an interview. The music video shows the band in the snow, dressed in winter clothing, and it's revealed that they actually are in the tropics surrounded by palm trees. It's a concept also found in their 1987 B-side, Snow in Summer. Keyboardist Roger O'Donnell called this experience miserable and freezing. This is one of my favorite songs on the album. I really like how they use both the guitar and the bass in the intro. They create some awesome, soothing melodies. Then they begin with the first verse of the section. I've been looking so long at these pictures of you that I almost believe that they're real. This is another song that does not have the typical song structure. It appears to be just a series of verses that tell a story. It's a fairly long song at 7.5 minutes. It's filled with some beautiful melodies, and it's one of my favorites on the album. Down to the song about Robert Smith's anxiety, insomnia, and drug use that inspired the songwriting. I thought this was kind of different. Had these big and ominous tribal drums with softer keyboard sounds in the background. The song is mostly an instrumental. It just has one verse comprising 7 lines of lyrics. The next song is Lovesong, and this is a popular song. Robert Smith wrote it for his bride-to-be in 1988. This was the band's highest charting single in the US, and it reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. Despite being the most popular song, Robert Smith considered it to be the weakest song on the album. The song was covered a few times. The band 311 covered it for the 51st Dates soundtrack, and Adele covered it for her 21 album. This is one of my favorite songs on the album. I really like the chorus. It's very catchy. However far away, I will always love you. However long I stay, I will always love you. The song is called Last Dance, and this is a song that's about seeing somebody who you once had feelings for, and then you see them after a long time. The song was not included on the vinyl version because of space limitations. I thought this was a good song. It had a sound that brings back their sound from their earlier material. Thought it reminded me of the song A Forest from their 1980 album, 17 Seconds. A song that brings back their early goth sound. Next song was Lullaby. This is the first single in Europe and the UK, and the second single in the US. This was their only single to reach the top 5 in the UK. The song is about one of Robert Smith's uncles who used to tell scary stories at bedtime about a Spider-Man who would eat children. Not to be confused with the Marvel Comics Spider-Man, of course. There is a music video that shows Robert Smith in bed, and the rest of the band members appear sporadically in the music video as tin soldiers in spider webs. Robert Smith also plays the Spider-Man as well as the victim. This was another one of those songs that did not have the typical song structure. It was a song that told a story, and I think that it works well using that structure. It's Fascination Street, and this was the first single in the US. And this is about the band going to Bourbon Street in New Orleans in 1985. This was also on the soundtrack to the 1989 movie called Lost Angels. The song is a classic. I love the opening bass line on the song. This is another one that captures their goth sound of the early 80s. Like most of these songs, the vocals do not come in until a few minutes into the song. Crash for Rain is the next song, and the song uses rain as a metaphor for hope. This is a song where the guitar and bass work together and create some haunting melodies. This is another song with an atypical song structure that's written like poetry. The ending is pretty cool. They use some backwards recording technique. The next song is called The Same Deep Water as You. This is the longest song on the album at over 9 minutes. In general, the song is about a hopeless love affair. Robert Smith considers this to be a very personal song. This reminds me of the kind of song that could have been used in a sad scene of a romantic drama. It has the sound of rain and thunder in the background and soft keyboard melody. Next is the title track, Disintegration. This one is about infidelity and how it can destroy a family. The opening melody sounded a little more upbeat and reminded me of the type of song that could have been a new wave hit in the early 80s. Maybe the type of song that could have been included on the soundtrack of a John Hughes movie. At the same time, it's one of the longest songs at over 8 minutes. It doesn't feel long. It's a very good song. This is the last song that founding member Lol Tolhurst contributed to while still a member of The Cure. This is technically the only song where he contributed to the album. This was another song that was not on the vinyl edition due to space limitations. I like the song because it was different. It has some acoustic classical guitar in the intro. It's very different for this band. I also like the soft violin parts that we use at the end of the song. The last song on the album was called Untitled, and according to Robert Smith, this is so depressing that he couldn't even give it a name. This is a really good song. I like the drum beat on this one. So let me know what you think of The Cure. Do you like them? It's a different type of band for this type of channel. I've been listening to this band frequently, and I like them, so I may do more videos on this band if you guys like this, if this video does well. So I'm going to stick another video right here. I don't have anything related, but thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this channel. I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.